Hey y'all, today we're talking about motivation. It was the number one thing on the feedback thing for sure. Why am I in my car? I just got back from the doctor, and the doctor said again, you should not be on that foot. You should not be doing any twisting, pivoting, or jumping. So I am not going to be learning how to kickflip anytime soon. Might look from the outside that I'm lazy and I just really don't want to do it. I'm not motivated to do it, but that's not it at all. And that is actually the point of today's information about motivation, because quite honestly, we use the term lazy as a judgment for ourselves and other people when we really don't know what's going on with them at all. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. So, for example, we have people in our communities, very common, struggling with anxiety. They are spending a lot of their mental energy reliving their experiences from their past and using those experiences to excessively worry about what's going to be happening in the future. And there are lots of people who also feel a lot of that anxiety and stress in their bodies very strongly. Things don't always get done, but it's not laziness. Second is we've got people who are struggling with depression. Their bodies are so fatigued and low energy, and there's sadness, there's hopelessness, there is so much sadness around the lack of enjoyment of the things that you used to love. So getting out of bed, taking a shower, and getting to school is a win. The ADHD brain, for example. The ADHD brain is capable of great deep focus and some amazing creativity, but it also has a disconnect between the back of the brain, where you know where the skills, you've built the skills, and you know what you need to do, but there's a disconnect between the back of the brain and the front of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which helps with the planning and the following through. So it might look lazy and unmotivated from the outside, but it takes an extreme amount of energy to get things done with the ADHD brain without a lot of strategizing. Fourth, we've got people who are fearful. They're fearful of not being accepted, not being loved, they're fearful of being compared to other people, and they're fearful of making mistakes and looking wrong and looking stupid. So they try to be perfect, and they try to do the things that they choose to do with perfection, which is impossible. And in the process, because they're looking for the approval based on their achievements, they want everything to be perfect, and therefore it's super freaking difficult to do, and they try to do a couple things perfectly, but then a lot of other things just don't get done. Trauma, that's the fifth one. If you experience something very upsetting, or you're consistently exposed to chaotic situations that are unpredictable, our bodies learn how to react to that. And our bodies get that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn reaction. And when we're in that physical reaction with a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol, we don't have access to our prefrontal cortex. We don't have access to our planning and learning parts of our brain. So if we've dealt with a lot of trauma and we're triggered, we can't get a bunch of stuff done. We can't plan to get a bunch of stuff done because our bodies need to go back to a regulated state before we can access our prefrontal cortex. So all 5 of these situations, anxiety, depression, ADHD brain, fearful of being anything other than perfect, so you're not accepted, and 5, trauma in our bodies, those things are the complete opposite of lazy. We are absolutely working overtime in all 5 of those situations to get anything done. Our bodies and our brains are working so hard. So what we're going to choose to do is, for one, we're going to say, friends, if you are struggling with any of these things and you need more support, please come talk to your teachers, your counselors, the campus supervisors. Go see Haley in the East Annex. Absolutely get the help. We'll try and get you the help that you need. And secondly, we as a community are going to kick the word lazy to the curb, unless, of course, we're talking about the good lazy where you're under a blanket with your cat reading a book. You know, that kind of lazy where you're resting because we need rest. The other kind of lazy where we're judging each other and judging ourselves, we're going to kick that to the curb, because what we really need to do is be curious. We need to be curious about other people. What are they going through so we can support them? And more importantly, we need to be curious about ourselves. That's the other piece that we know that's true about motivation that we're going to talk about more next week. If you know yourself well, you know your challenges, your values, who you want to be, the kind of person you want to be, then it's a lot easier to follow through on the things that you're asking yourself to do. So next week, that is going to be our focus.
Be excellent to each other.
Stay curious.
And stay classy, Novato.